You can come along. Oh, same sheet. Okay, Africa.
Yeah.
Wherever you think. Oh, where are you?
Good. Getting big.
I don't think gonna be here all week.
No. We just started. We started last Monday.
You know, we're. Oh my gosh. Friday was Sunday.
Yeah. Like, oh, man. 13 sheet. Which one is this? Ethics Day, Ethics Week. Wow.
No. They were supposed to be in the front. Yeah. I was just very excited. Ethics Week. And this is the first time that we've had it in our new location. So we moved here last year. So we're very excited to host it today and tomorrow in person. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Board of Ethics and Government Accountability, also known as BEGA, we are an independent agency within the district government. We have a 5-member board. We were created in 2012 as the answer to ethics issues within the district government. So during that time, there were some issues with elected officials and employees, and the council created us as the answer to those issues. So we are the district's ethics authority. We have jurisdiction over the entire district government. That's the mayor, members of the council, ANC commissioners, employees, and board and commission members. Within BEGA, there are actually 2 offices. There's my office, the Office of Government Ethics, and then there's the Office of Open Government, who handle Open Meetings Act and FOIA matters. You'll hear from them on Thursday, and some of them are sitting in the back of the room. So on the Office of Government Ethics side, OGE, what we do is we provide ethics advice. We give ethics trainings on various ethics topics, conduct ethics investigations on alleged violations of the Code of Conduct. We manage the district's financial disclosure statement program, as well as lobbyist registrations and reporting. So let's talk about being empowered by ethics. Empowered is defined as to give someone the authority or the power to do something, most often used in a work or legal environment. So what does empowered mean to you all? Anybody can answer.
Couple things come to mind. And control and responsibility.
Okay, she said control and responsibility.
Ability to, a person's ability and want to.
Ability and want to. Okay, I think those are all great definitions of empower. When we talk about being empowered by ethics, we mean to be empowered to follow the ethics rules and to encourage others to follow those rules as well. To be an ethics advocate, to make ethics a priority in your personal lives as well as your professional lives with the district government. So last year's theme was ethics every day, where we talked about having an ethical mind frame, incorporating ethics in your decision-making process. That's when you're making small decisions as well as substantial decisions, as well as in your personal and professional lives. So we wanted you to stop, think, and connect, which means that when you're faced with a decision, you stop, you think about whether there's an ethics issue with your decision or the potential for an ethics issue, and then you connect with the values of the district government, which are integrity, transparency, and ethics. And once you apply all three of those, you can make an ethical decision. So this year, we want to go a little bit beyond ethics every day, that stop, think, and connect, to empowering you to be ethical, empowering you to be an ethics advocate. All right, so there's this book titled 3 Keys of Empowerment by Mr. Ken Blanchard. And the book is used to encourage folks in the private sector to have their employees to be more independent, to make great business decisions, to be, I guess, empowered for the company so that the company's bottom line can grow. But I found it to be a great book. So I thought about some of the keys and I wanted to talk with you guys about it. So again, the book is titled The 3 Keys of Empowerment: Release the Power Within People for Astonishing Results. And again, it's by Ken Blanchard. So the first key to empowerment is sharing information. And he states that one of the best ways to build a sense of trust and responsibility in people is by sharing information. So giving team members the information they need enables them to make good business decisions. High-performing organizations are always looking for ways to incorporate knowledge into new ways of doing business. So when you share information with folks, it empowers them to act on that information. As it relates to ethics, we encourage you all, and we try to share information about our agency. So that's sharing the ethics rules, advisory opinions, information about our training, and just overall happenings with ethics in the district government. In doing so, you share information about ethics, and it allows employees to make good ethical decisions. The second key is creating autonomy through boundaries. So boundaries show people where they can be autonomous and responsible rather than telling them what they can't do. Think of it as a way of a hierarchical culture. In a hierarchical culture, boundaries are like barbed wires, where they restrict people and tell them where they can and cannot go. But in a culture where folks are empowered, the boundaries are like rubber bands. It allows them to go within that bounds and be responsible for themselves. So for us, of course, the ethics rules are the boundaries. So we want employees to work with a sense of autonomy within the rules. So to be empowered, with autonomy through those boundaries, the ethics rules. The third key is to replace the old hierarchy with self-directed individuals and teams. As people learn to create autonomy by using the information that has been shared with them, as well as those boundaries, they move away from dependence on the hierarchy. These self-directed individuals and teams, which include highly skilled individuals, interact with groups. They express strong self-management skills and replace the hierarchy. Now, this does not mean that we want employees to replace BEGA, because we don't want to go anywhere. We want to be here to be your ethics authority. But it does mean that we want to enable you to express the ethics standards in the same way that we do, to become ethics advocates and to gain a strong sense of ethics within yourself so you can help your colleagues. The goal of this agency is to provide knowledge of the ethics rules and how to implement those rules. And this last key is not a part of the book, but I wanted to add it. It's leading by example. So if you lead by example, of course, folks are going to follow the things that you do. You commit to the action to follow the ethics rules. You inspire others to do that. And then we'll have an ethical government. Being empowered by ethics is to be an ethics leader and to show ethics behavior. So that's what we mean by being empowered. And I think that we can use these keys within the government to empower employees and ourselves to become more ethical. So what have we been doing at BEGA to empower employees? We like to empower through advice. Of course, as I stated before, we give advice on all the ethics rules. We give informal as well as formal advice. Our formal advice is through advisory opinions that are posted on our website. Informal advice can be an email, phone call, or you can come into our office. So this deals with the first key of empowerment. It's communication and information sharing. We want to share information about the ethics rules with you. We also have open lines of communications with employees. We have an Ask BEGA program where our attorneys go out to different agencies and set up a table, and we're on site to give on-site ethics advice in person. If employees want to stop by, they can ask their question, and most of the time we can give an answer. If it's something that's more complex, then we might just take your information and then get back to you, bring it back to the group internally, and then get back to you with an answer. We also have, you can request ethics advice via email or telephone. We have a hotline as well that's really reserved for ethics complaints, but you're free to call that hotline if you need ethics advice. As far as advice, last fiscal year, we issued 6 advisory opinions, and we provided informal advice for 447 requests, which is a big task because we only have 6 people, 6 attorneys that provide ethics advice. So this is a really large number for us, 447 requests that were answered. A few of our advisory opinions, we issued one on cooperation and retaliation that discussed employees' duties to cooperate with our investigations, as well as the prohibition on retaliating against an employee for either reporting an ethics violation or cooperating with our office. We issued an advisory opinion on post-employment for attorney appearances. So this was requested by a former employee of whether they could enter an appearance on plaintiff's behalf when the district was a defendant. And we determined that the employee could not do so within the 1-year cooling off period. That deals with our post-employment rules, but that they could do so afterwards. Our advisory opinions are issued in 2 forms. They're either by request, or we can issue an advisory opinion sua sponte. Those that are issued upon request give the requesting employee safe harbor, but really all of our advice gives you safe harbor, even if it's informal. We also, the sua sponte opinions are issued when we see an ethics issue or a trend or a specific topic that is happening within the district government. We can issue a sua sponte opinion. We issued an opinion on social media use and social media use by district employees and public officials. So it just talks about how to use official social media accounts in an ethical manner. We issued an opinion on the guidance for serving as the president of an organization that does business with the district government, not with your agency, but with the district government. And it basically provided advice on the outside employment restrictions. So this was another one that was issued upon request by an employee who has an outside business, and that business has a contract with a different agency, not that employee's agency. So we gave that employee ramifications and boundaries of what he could and could not do as far as his business. We like to empower employees through education. Education is a big component in our office. We conduct several trainings a year. We provide in-person trainings by request. We can go out to an agency and conduct the training there. We provide monthly webinars. Our general ethics training occurs the second Wednesday of each month. Right now, we're providing monthly local Hatch Act training because of the election, the upcoming election. And we provide quarterly board and commissions trainings. Our training schedule is posted on our website at the beginning of the year for the entire year. So if you want to check that out, you can go ahead and do so on our website. And we also provide reminders about our trainings in our bi-monthly newsletter, Ethically Speaking. We have a learning management system where employees can take self-guided, on-demand ethics trainings. It's available on our website, bega.dc.gov. You can go onto the learning management system. You can self-register. And right now, we have 24 courses that you can take. Those courses range from gifts, conflicts of interest, post-employment, nepotism, outside employment. And it also includes those courses that can aid employees in their empowerment journey, such as ethical decision-making, becoming an ethical leader, and what is ethical leadership. So through our education, we like to think that we're hitting that first key, which is communication and information sharing, which assists employees in learning the ethics rules, of course. And we encourage you to share that with your colleagues. And it also pertains to the second key, which is creating autonomy through boundaries. Because when employees know the ethics rules, they know how far they can go, how they can work independently and autonomously through those rules. As far as education, we've had over 7,000 employees to register for our learning management system. And last fiscal year, we conducted 89 trainings. Okay, we like to empower through collaboration as well. So we have identified partners that also have the same ethical values and standards as we do. We all share a mutual benefit of having an ethical government. Of course, that is the ethics counselors that each agency has, the council, the mayor, and external stakeholders. So as far as our ethics counselors, we like to meet with ethics counselors on a monthly basis for our brown bag sessions. During those sessions, we discuss best practices for ethics. We have done a range of topics, outside employment, local Hatch Act, post-employment. So our ethics counselors are in regular contact with us. We also send them email communications. We send them our bi-monthly newsletter. And I believe we send them a weekly email of updates within the office. This fiscal year, we plan to strengthen our alliances with the council, mayor, and stakeholders. As far as the council, we plan to introduce our Comprehensive Code of Conduct, the CCC, which has been introduced a few times before, but now we have gone back, we've looked at the legislation, we've improved it based on best practices. So we think that we have now a new CCC that's been fine-tuned. So we're going to introduce that to the council in the next term. We're going to ask for the mayor to support us in that CCC. And then we plan to partner with the mayor as well as our ethics counselors to launch an outside employment initiative. All right, empowered through enforcement. As I stated in the beginning, we do conduct ethics investigations based on alleged violations of the code of conduct. The board has the authority to issue a fine of up to $5,000 per ethics violation. We conduct investigations based on complaints that we receive, something that we may see in the media, or just other means of information that we receive. So those complaints, they will either go into a preliminary investigation or a formal investigation. Our preliminary investigations are confidential, but our formal investigations may be public. Most of our investigations result in a negotiated disposition or some type of informal admonition. Very rarely we have a hearing on an investigation, but when we do, it's a full open and adversarial hearing before the board. I have the burden of proving by substantial evidence that the employee has engaged in the unethical conduct. And again, if it is found that the employee has done the unethical deed, then the board can issue a fine of up to $5,000 per violation. But again, that rarely happens. We also have show cause hearings where the employee comes before me to show cause as to why they should not be fined. But we have a lot of open lines of communication to empower employees when it comes to enforcement. As far as reporting, employees can call our hotline. They can remain anonymous if they wish to do so. They can do submissions through our online portal. They can always call us or send an email to report ethics violations. And what we found is that when employees are empowered by ethics, they actually do report ethics violations because they're able to recognize when something is not right, when something violates the rules. And they're able to recognize how the impact of unethical conduct, the impact that it has on the entire district government. So here we like to think that we're hitting the keys of creating autonomy through boundaries, because when we do reach a disposition in an investigation, that negotiated disposition is publicized on our website. So employees and the public are aware of it. And of course, that makes the boundary lines very clear. When someone has violated the rules and we have a set of facts there and there's a fine, and we've actually stated that this type of conduct violates the ethics rules. As far as enforcement, we have initiated this past fiscal year, we initiated 153 investigations, resulted in 14 negotiated dispositions. We had one public hearing, and those negotiated dispositions and investigations range in topic from outside employment, misuse of government property, financial conflicts of interest, nepotism, and the Local Hatch Act. So here are a few. This one is pretty popular. This is C. Liam. This is when an employee violated the outside employment restrictions by working at Freddie Mac and serving as an elected official in Virginia during her tour of duty. And she was fined $25,000. Another one is Y. Fields, where an employee violated the Local Hatch Act by filing as a candidate for partisan office while still employed with the district government. The Local Hatch Act prohibits employees from filing as a candidate for partisan office as well as engaging in political activity during their tour of duty. So she actually engaged in political activity and she filed for candidacy, which is a violation, and she was fined $5,000. This is another one that was publicized. Ogbui. This is where respondent used his work cell phone to take explicit videos and pictures of himself. And yeah, he was fined $10,000. Not too much I can say about that because it was very tough to investigate, but we were able to get his phone. We were able to get the pictures and videos, and it was something that you shouldn't use your government cell phone to do. Next one is L. Graves. This is another outside employment violation where the employee worked as a human resources director for an outside entity, as well as a doula during her tour of duty. She was fined $17,000. So this is one of the reasons why we're going to start an outside employment initiative this fiscal year with the mayor and the help of ethics counselors, because there is an issue and a trend with employees engaging in outside employment during their tour of duty. This is something that happened during the pandemic where folks were teleworking, and they were teleworking at home for the district and also teleworking for an outside entity, or either in person working at the outside entity while teleworking at the district. So it's really become an issue, and we want to take some efforts to address it. So just be on the lookout for any information about outside employment activity, outside employment restrictions. This is another one, Al Palmer, where an employee hired a relative for a position within her agency. The nepotism rule prohibits public officials from hiring their relative for a position within their agency. And in this instance, it was her son that she indirectly hired. And this last one is the public hearing that we had this fiscal year. This is David DeBoer. This is where the respondent worked as a contractor for the CJCC, which is a district agency. And he worked full-time at DOES at the same time, basically. So he was an IT specialist for both agencies. One was serving a contractor that has a contract with the district, but on the DOES side, he was full-time employed. He was actually at the DOES office doing work as a contractor for CJCC. So that was a hearing that we had this past January. And the board, it was 32 counts of outside employment. The board issued a fine of $165,000. But of course, we're still trying to collect that money from him. But this is the biggest fine issued in history, the history of BEGA. All right, and I wanted to bring your attention to the ethics heat map. This is something new that we started on our website. We publish it on a quarterly basis along with our quarterly activity reports. So it just shows which ethics topics and which areas we have the most case closures in. And as you can see from here, misuse of government property is pretty big. Well, I don't think you guys can see it, it's pretty tiny, but misuse of government property is pretty big. Preferential treatment, as well as releasing confidential information. But again, the outside employment, outside activity is a huge issue. Yes, go ahead.
So for the outside employment, all the cases, do they get to keep their jobs?
That's my question.
So no, most of the, if not all of the individuals that I named here were terminated by their agency. But I want to make it clear that BEGA does not have the authority to terminate anyone. We don't have personnel authority, but it's something that the agencies have thought were necessary to do in these situations, especially since the people were working for another entity while performing their district duties. So yes, all of them were terminated.
Is that something that you guys would recommend? Like we recommend?
No, we don't even recommend it. The agency does it on their own. And the reason being is because we like to stay out of personnel matters. We just want to stay in our lane. Our jurisdiction is ethics, and that's what we do. So the agencies, we do notify them when we reach a disposition, and then they're able to use our facts and the disposition in the case to make a decision, but we don't recommend termination.
I just have one more question.
Yes.
Do you guys also investigate union presidents?
Do we investigate union presidents?
Yeah, like if they're in the agency.
Yes, if they engage in unethical conduct. So we have jurisdiction over all district government employees. And if that union president is an employee and they engage in unethical conduct or they're alleged to have do so, we would investigate it.
Thank you.
Are you able to share PDF of the slides?
Yes.
Okay.
They'll be available at the end of the week on the website.
On the website.
And how do we find out about the courses or the we want to, take the classes along the way throughout the year?
That's also on our website, bega.dc.gov. You would go to education and you can register for training. You can take the self-guided training. There are links there's a drop-down menu under education on our website.
But is it a whole course that's taken in order, or you can just kind of like hodgepodge, pick and choose what you're interested in?
Well, our general ethics training is a whole 1 hour to 1.5 hour course, and you can take that on a monthly basis. Our self-directed training through our LMS, you can take it at your leisure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get a certificate if we finish the whole thing?
You do.
Okay, great.
You get credit. You get credit for taking it.
We love
yes.
our certificates.
Yeah. So once you create your profile on our LMS, your completion and certificates are going to be under your profile.
Okay, good.
So yeah, you do get a certificate. Financial disclosure statement. I'm sure some of you all are filers.
Yeah.
We manage the district's financial disclosure statement programs. This past fiscal year, we actually had over 8,000 employees to file using our e-filing system. That's public and confidential filers. We finalized some regulations as far as FDS. Recently, we've added some additional board and commission members who were not already designated to file, but we thought that they engaged in conduct that created a financial conflict of interest. So we added those board and commission members as public filers. They'll be filing on next year. The purpose of financial disclosure statement is to try to avoid any financial conflicts of interest. So we try to, the purpose is to have employees to list their financial assets as a manner that so the agencies can know where you have financial interest. We can know where you have financial interest so that you're not delegated any tasks that may conflict with your own financial interest. So that's the purpose of financial disclosure statement. We are in the process of issuing another rulemaking that does create some technical amendments to the financial disclosure regulations. It just corrects some timelines, some deadlines that are in the regs. It also eliminates the need for oral arguments for designation appeals. So that rulemaking will be published. The notice of rulemaking will be published next week. And then there'll be a 30-day comment period. If you have any comments, you can submit them to our office. We've created a quick-based system for submission of FDS forms. If an employee wants to do a designation appeal, a waiver request, they can submit that online on our website, and it goes straight to us. So the keys for financial disclosure statement is number one, leading by example, promoting transparency, and avoiding financial conflicts of interest. This is the way that we empower employees through financial disclosure statements. And last, we do have jurisdiction over lobbying, registration, and reporting. So that means that any entity or person that expends a certain amount of funds on lobbying within the district has to register with us on an annual basis and file quarterly activity reports. We have been conducting quarterly lobbyist trainings. We've recently had a legislative change as far as lobbying, is that with the passage of the 2024 Budget Support Act, the lobbyist fees and fines have increased. So lobbyists used to pay, for-profit lobbyists used to pay $250 for registration. Now they'll pay $350. Nonprofit organizations used to pay $50. Now they'll pay $100. And we've increased our fines. So we used to have a maximum of $300 for late filings. That has gone up to $6,000 for late filings. So it's consistent with what other jurisdictions are doing as far as lobbyist fines and fees. So we're happy about that new change. And also we have a quick base form for any lobbyist submissions that folks want to submit to our office, whether it's a fine waiver or e-filing waiver request. They can go to our website and submit that form. So these are all the ways that we are Empowering Employees by Ethics. We encourage you to help us on this journey by sharing information, creating autonomy through boundaries, replacing old hierarchy with self-directed individuals, and leading by example. I want to leave you with this quote. Real power comes by empowering others, by Dennis Waitley. He's a motivational speaker. I want to thank you all again for coming. I want to thank the Ethics Committee, as well as our coordinator, Ms. Asia Stewart Mitchell. The next session starts at 10:45. And as you all saw on the board outside, we have a full day today and tomorrow for you. But thank you again for coming. I welcome any questions that you all may have. And if not, I'll be around. So you can feel free to stop me if you have any questions.
Will the survey be provided at the end of the session?
The survey, yes. Yes, a survey will be provided at the end of the session, each session. Great. All right, thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you came in through the back, make sure you sign this sheet up at the front. And we're on a break right now until 10:45.
Okay.
Is the next session in here? Is the next?
It is,
So we can
yes.
kind of keep our stuff here? If we want, yeah, okay, great. Great.
Did they say anything about the president?